Hello, 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 you guys. I hope that everything your way is going well and that your hump day or Wednesday is off to a bright and a productive start. Um, just quickly, I wanted to record this video and then leave it here. I am going to come back after I'm done and revise it with the specifics already printed out so that people kind of have the gist or understand what the elements mean. But I wanted to record it because I'm in between sessions and I'm, getting this day started and off and bouncing and all of those things that are great with work. Okay. For those of you who this is your first time watching me, I am DocLQJ, Dr. Jefferson Brown, and I am the host of Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson, where we have conversations about accountability or around accountability that surround issues that affect the Black and Brown melanated community as a whole and everywhere, not just in America, but in America and abroad. Today I figured, okay, from a relationship therapist, I'm a marriage and family therapist. Um, but from a relational perspective and a personal perspective, I wanted to address the elements of selecting a partner. Oftentimes I do have people of all a variety of backgrounds who come into therapy because they are having trouble with balancing their mental health because they start to feel um lower than life sometimes because they feel like there is obviously there's something wrong with their picker. There is something significantly wrong with them because every time they select a partner, every time they vet a partner, even though they go through all of the proper steps according to most people, and they're following the guidance of folks that they trust, they just cannot seem to select a partner who aligns with what they see themselves being able, or should I say, who they see themselves being able to build with in life. So I always say it's important to have like acronyms that guide your process because it's easier to reference if you have acronyms. And it just so happens that the acronyms that I have that applies to the feminine energy or the more advisory type of position in the relationship, because this will apply to people who are homosexual, heterosexual, pansexual, sapiosexual, people who identify in a variety of different sexual orientations and contexts, regardless of whether you're a male or a female. But I'm referring to the person who is selecting from the position of the feminine energy in the relationship. And every relationship should always have that balance. That's the first tip. Okay. And the element of Christ or Christ is not necessarily the element of religion because we don't all worship the same God. We don't all have the same ideation around religion, theology, and the frameworks of spirituality, even. However, this element, this idea, the construct applies to people across a broad range of backgrounds and sociocultural conditioning elements. So the first one is the C. Okay. C is for credit. Regardless of where you live, I know that every country is not necessarily established or colonized in a way that others may be situated. Um, but it's important that that person be credit worthy or a person that has positive lending or borrowing habits or whatever. It says that that person is trustworthy. That's what it says. If a person is credit worthy, they're able to acquire things in life without having to struggle necessarily to acquire those things while they're kind of not in a position to just front the money up front, right? So they get the thing and they pay it off. They have a history of paying their bills on time. They have a history of showing up for the things that they commit themselves to, because that's what that tells you, essentially. Because financial responsibility is one of the essential components, I feel like, I have a list of 18 things by 18 that every parent's responsible for teaching their children as far as life skills and the development of the personality in a healthy way so that people come on the end of productivity instead of needy or dependency when it comes to them being adults and learning how to adult, right? So credit is the first one. The second one is H, right? Health. So when I say health, I mean a person who is, they don't necessarily have to be the healthiest person, but they do have to be on top of their health because some conditions we cannot control. However, many health conditions are due to life choices, right? And if we're making choices that cause a decline in our health and put us at risk or put us in an at-risk population of imminent death and danger, sometimes it says that when we get in a relationship, the health of our relationship will also reflect that piece. So it's important to have someone who has a healthy mental status, taking care of their mental health, they're doing some honest self-reflection to keep themselves balanced and calibrated. Their spiritual health and wellness is definitely a top tier. And they understand and they know why it is that they live this life and they're purpose driven and they know what their purpose is because they've done their due diligence to figure what that looks like for them. Um, thank you, honey. 1 second. So that's the element, the H for health. Okay. So physical health is, or biological health is also good. And very important, should I say. And it's good, and it's also good or positive if they're in physical shape, right? So I'm not saying they're running 5Ks and running marathons um every couple of days or so, or even every weekend, Jesus. But what I'm saying is they have a regimen, a routine, or rituals or whatever that keep these parts of them congruent. So healthy in every aspect or every component of life, right? That's the H. The R is real estate. And I know a lot of folks are like, well, what if they're pairing themselves with a person and they're young? Young people also have a really rich construct of understandings when it comes to real estate, or understanding the importance of owning versus constantly just moving and leasing or renting property. It says that that person has long-term stability, not only in mind, but also as a part of their natural conditioning, or how they're geared up to be in life, right? So moving along, because I do kind of push through this because I do have a session coming up that I got to jump into. The next one is going to be I, and I is for income and investment. That person does need to have adequate income to be able to afford the life that they live and take care of themselves, but they also need to be um financially set, or ideation wise financially set around how it is that they're going to provide for that person that they're entering into a relationship with. Because let me tell you, I know that in America there is this long stemmed argument back and forth, competition between men and women about who is the prize, who's supposed to do this, 50-50, 70-30, blah blah blah. The reality is, in a balanced relationship that's healthy and congruent, first of all, these arguments don't take place. If you're selecting a partner and you feel like this is something that you have to argue about, you probably want to divest and continue to move and search and make yourself a woman in waiting, a male in waiting for their ideal partner, right? Because it's not about how much you're supposed to bring to the table income wise, but the roles or the position in the feminine energy is a bit different than that of the masculine energy in that relationship. And you guys have to have an intimate conversation about what that looks like. So you want a person who has a good ideation around how it is they're going to make for the provisions that they're required to make for, or make clear or manage in that relationship with you. And you want a person who has healthy investments. So not a person that's making risky investments, but understands that everything you put into not only, you know, finances, but also into life is going to give you a certain type of return. So the way a person's financially situated tells you a lot about how it is that they'll invest and what depths they're willing to invest in and what risk they'll potentially take in the future while they're aligned with you. So the S, moving along, is for support and servitude. It's a dual component. And let me tell you, I feel like this is the most important one when it comes to actions of a person in a relationship, because it kind of helps you align all the rest of those components that I just mentioned. Support, knowing how and when to ask for your support, because if you're the feminine energy in the relationship, and I'll expand on that when I talk about the flip side of this for the people that are presenting as the masculine component in the relationship. But this person has to know what it looks like to acknowledge that they're supposed to be interdependent, and what interdependence in a healthy way looks like in a relationship. And you need that because you need to be able to submit, right? Without questioning whether or not this person's worth it or worthy of your submission. Um, but you trust that person enough and you understand that person enough to know that they know when it is that they need help, and they know when to seek advisement from you in order for them to gain the submission out of you. And they know what it looks like to support you if you're the person who is the homemaker, etc., primarily. And their servitude says that they understand that there is an essential balance component that is required there as well, and some level of reciprocity in some areas based on how it is that they're managing and running the house as the lead in household. So there is that piece. But also you have to have T, right? And T, and I'll expand on servitude a little bit more, but I'm kind of pressing for time. But T is trust. That person has to trust you and be a trusting person in order for you to trust them enough to submit to them, because it says that they have healthy attachment styles. And now that's not to say that people in life will never encounter traumatic injuries and traumatic emotional experiences that will mitigate their ability to trust in the meantime, in between time, but that goes along with that component that we talked about in the H element, where we talked about health, right? So the element of the acronym for the H in the acronyms stands for mental health as well, right? So if they're mentally and emotionally healthy and they've done their self-work to get them to a place to where they know and understand the elements of attachment styles and trust and injuries and traumas that conflict with them being able to be well, they would have done that work that's necessary to bring them in alignment and be able to trust people and move into loving and trusting relationships that help not only them remain congruent in their parts, but also bring other people into relationships with them. And those relationships thrive as a result of their health. So that is all that I have. I hope that you guys have a blessed and productive rest of your Wednesday. Check back in approximately 3 hours, and I will do the edits and revisions to allow you guys to be able to access the elements of my acronym Christ when it comes to selecting a partner in relationships. And for those of you who made it to the end of the video, give this video a big thumbs up. Like the video so that YouTube knows that you guys are enjoying the content that I am putting out, and help me reach the goal of 1,000 subscribers by this summer, because I am going to be intentional about coming on this page now, because I do have so much going on. But I feel like these quick, 5.5 and 10-minute to 15-minute conversations are definitely easier for me to fit within my workday, etc. So it was my goal to remain under 15 minutes, and I am under 15 minutes. I'm super proud of myself, actually. But yeah, that's all that I've got. I hope that you guys are well and you're putting positive energy into the atmosphere. And until